and you won't be looking for a specific OS.
Talking about operating system, what kind of operating system will SmartBox offer next year?
So next year we are working, we believe the Linux is the right foundation, I would say, baseline for all this kind of device. So we are of course working with our friend from Google on the Android space, on the Chrome space. We are also working with a variety of Linux distributions, many of them. I don't want to give any names because I would forget some of them, but we are working with a number of them. We're also working with Microsoft and with Windows Mobile. And you know, there is some evolutions of Windows Mobile. There's a lot of debate also within Microsoft on how to address this market, and we'll see how things evolve. I'm sure at some point, Microsoft's position will maybe evolve. We'll see. But again, as it is in the mobile industry, there will be variety. There will be a large number of solutions over to the users.
One interesting thing is it wasn't only the announcement of having Lenovo as a cooperation partner, one of the biggest laptop manufacturers in the world, and also one of the most progressive ones in terms of netbooks, because I think they are pretty even. I think they're number 4 in the European market right now with their netbooks, while Samsung is the number 4 is Lenovo, number 3 should be Samsung, and then we have Asus and Acer that are pretty tight even. And how do you? Actually, I just forgot my question right now. So whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
Sorry. We had Lenovo as one of your cooperation partners. And we also had Asus that were announcing the Qualcomm Snapdragon EPC during Computex during your event over there. And all of a sudden, it disappeared from their booth in just 48 hours. But I definitely know that Asus is still working over the Pegatron brand on this device. Do you have any other major brands coming with SmartBox to the market in 2010?
So you mentioned Lenovo, you mentioned that Asus was doing some development. You know of course that Acer is developing some smartphone on Snapdragon. So without getting any confidential information about our OEMs, I think most of the big names have some development ongoing. Now in the computing space, usually products are announced a few weeks before they are launched, as opposed to the smartphone, where they are usually announced maybe like 3 months or even 6 months before they are launched. In the computing space, usually products are again announced just a few weeks before they are launched. So we have a number of major events coming soon. So we have CES in Las Vegas, we have Mobile World Congress. We should have some interesting announcement there.
So how about for Samsung? And I know that also your smartphones are using a couple of Qualcomm platforms, right? Do you see an opportunity for Samsung also using the Snapdragon platform, or for a netbook, or for a SmartBook, or whatever you want to name it?
I don't really know what is behind it. So it's a little bit difficult for me to answer, and I'm working pretty much close to the French market. Not so much discussion with our developing teams within headquarters, but I'm pretty sure that we are all, as a constructor, concerned by component providers and what they are able to provide the best solution at the best price. So I think I'm pretty sure. I heard that we have some discussions with them, but I don't know what's going on. What's going on with them? But maybe I can just come back on the subject before, because I think it's quite important. I always feel very pragmatic, too pragmatic. But when we look at the netbook market, we have seen that we introduced the Linux platform, and it has been decreased, and now we are selling on the Windows-based platform. And I mean, one of my thinking with this is that people are used to actually work in an environment that they are familiar with, which has been actually the Windows platform so far. So I think we must not neglect the fact that the end customers are looking for a device that they can easily use, and the perception, because you mentioned, for example, that it is true that 60% of the people that are owning a netbook are not going outside with their netbook. But I believe that the purchasing behavior is pretty much based on what we think we're going to do. And if we stick to statistics that are just sensing what we are actually doing, we may, I think it's very dangerous to stick to this kind of statistics to analyze what is happening in customers' mind actually. And what I'm trying to say here is there is what the users would like to do with the computer, and this is why they buy this kind of devices or some other kind of devices. And I think the operating system is actually key in the choice of the device. Who is making the operating system is not the issue here. But when you are buying an iPhone, I think you buy also for the interface and the experience that the iPhone OS is providing to you. And around me, for example, most of the people that bought the Android platform, it's 40 OS, not 40 OS. It's 40 OS because they have been given the information that this OS will answer to their needs in some way. And so the OS is actually, and the interface is directly used to the linked to the usage that you are looking for the device. And this is why in the future, for the moment, we have been proposing only Windows-based platform. But as I mentioned before, we are thinking about how we can, aside the Windows that is, I believe, reassuring people, we can provide some Linux-based applications or, as I mentioned, some kind of instant-on features. I saw many people presenting the instant-on features. We actually call it as well instant-on, which is the capability for example, our netbook to, in 10 seconds, boost in a dedicated interface for web usage, multimedia, and everything. But if the user wants to switch to Windows because he is more used, he can. We have to give the possibility. And this is the way we are approaching the hardware and its integrated software. So I think OS is actually a key driver in the market for the choice of the device.
But I think in general the market is already very fragmented, not only because of netbooks, or now we have MIDs, we will have smart books. So it's getting very, very busy, and you're all aiming at somehow the same consumer, even though that I see in general that a netbook and a smartphone are complementing devices. You know, I see different usage scenarios for them, and I'm pretty sure that 2010, especially in January, we will have a lot of announcements, whether it's smart books, we will get even lots of tablets based on the Snapdragon platform, and I'm sure that also you guys with Pinetail, the next generation of the Intel Atom, which is offering less power consumption, about 20 to 30% less, which would make it even more interesting for you guys again, because that's another advantage of UA, that it's getting smaller. So the market is getting more and more competitive, and I'm pretty sure that 2010 will be a break-even point for the whole market. That netbooks, well, they already approached, or they already reached the mass market, but it will be different in terms of how to be online, how to use a netbook, and to come back to the statistic that 60% of the netbooks are not leaving the house. You know, it's kind of, however, German saying for this: never believe a statistic that you never fake on your own. And so I even believe in the terms, in something that I call micromobility, because even a netbook is getting carried around in the house, right? From the living room back to the kitchen and to the bedroom or wherever. So this is also mobility, something that people would never do with like a 17-inch notebook. So I think it's getting very, very interesting in 2010. And therefore, I'm looking forward what kind of platforms you're going to announce. Oh, sorry.
So, because you mentioned one very important point, which is the fact that today I think we cannot look into the netbook market taking it out of the laptop market and its evolution in general. Because 2008 it was a real big growth. 2009 it's a year of the stagnation of the market share of netbooks in terms of unit, 20%, and it has been very stable. And one of the pillars that made the success of the netbook, which is the low cost, is actually not dedicated now to the netbook. So when a customer is going in shop now at the same price segment, you can find 15-inch laptop and netbook. So actually, all those people that were going to buy a cheap computer and were buying netbook, it's I think finished for next year. So, for example, within Samsung, we are also thinking of segmentation, and if we want to reboost this netbook market, we have to really be able to market it as a secondary device. Otherwise, it's you will never see another growth in the market, I think, for this kind of device. We must be able to clearly differentiate what you can do with the netbook, and the concept of mobility and connectivity we mentioned before will be key, absolutely key, in next year. And when you see, for example, platforms like consumer UAV-based platforms that are coming to the market, proposing almost the same level of battery life, but more performant processors and everything, we really have to integrate the netbook as a segment of the general laptop market and analyze how it's moving within this market. Otherwise, we may have a fake idea of the market. So, actually, next year we are, as you mentioned, in January, end of January, we will have a full new lineup of netbook that will be introduced based on the current new processor. It's still very confidential, so I cannot say the name and everything, because as Jean mentioned, in the computer area, it's always, we internally even get the information maybe 2 weeks before. So, but I know we are preparing a whole new lineup based on what we have mentioned so far. We call it SmartBook, or otherwise we are providing thinner chassis, we are providing more battery life. We are reinforcing the idea of instantly using the netbook through software, this kind of stuff. And these are the main improvements that we are going to see next year. But we are also clarifying the lineup, because as you mentioned before, we are 7 to 8 devices now in the market at Samsung. And I'm pretty sure, except for NC10, most of the people in the room do not know the name of the device. So we must clarify, must have one hero product, one very representative netbook from Samsung, and be able to market it correctly. And then we have some 11.6-inch products, iron-based products that we are having today, and some kind of very different design concept products. But clarification and reinforcing the speech on connectivity, mobility, secondary device is really a key message that we will be driving next year in the market.
Well, thank you, Jeyu, and thank you, Jean. If you have any questions, so please let me know. Or maybe we have answered them all. Looks like, there you go.
Just for 2010, what about the growth you are expecting in the market?
In the netbook market,
Yeah.
so there are two scenarios we are seeing based on discussion with analysts. Is the fact that the market will stagnate at 20% even next year. Market share. So netbook, let's say 1 of 5 laptops sold in France may be a netbook next year. We see it actually drastically improve if telecom carriers are proposing actually better access, cheaper subscriptions. So if we are, because today unlimited access is maybe 30 euro. It's quite a lot of money, but if we are going maybe to 10 or 15, or if we are reducing the price, we believe that the netbook devices will grow, but more in this telecom channel than the global market.
Any more questions?
Sorry, coming back to the form factor. I was surprised with this number, 30% of the netbooks used only at home. I didn't expect that, because always when we are talking about netbooks, we are talking about mobility, the fact that you can use that in libraries, you can use that you know, in cafes and etc. I was really surprised by this number, and I'm wondering if I give you an example, especially for you who seems to be very skeptic about the smart books and etc. Imagine you live in Paris. You are taking the underground. You have 20 minutes. Your trip will last 20 minutes, and you want to read, not really typing, to read. You will be more comfortable having a one-body, an internet, a tablet PC, than trying with your neighborhood, pushing, opening your laptop, because you won't have space. And if you can also have a very fast starting machine, it will help you to start it. Because you will say, okay, I don't need to wait 2 minutes or 3 minutes for Windows to be ready. In just 15 seconds, it can be ready. And you have already devices like that which start in 15 seconds. So I think that if you add in those devices functions like GPS on screen, I mean 7, 8 inches, so you'll be ready to use it by walking, just watching where you are going. And if really you don't have space in the underground because there are too crowded people, you won't sit down. You use your device, you know.
Yeah,
So that's the reason why I think that the evolution can come with a new form factor. You understand what I mean? And if you have it in your bag, still working, if you have a new email or something important, you know that as soon as it's gone.
But if we approach this way, I do agree that maybe a new device, I'm not reluctant, let's say, or against, or I'm not saying that there is no more device than what is existing in the market to fit better the needs that we may have in terms of internet access, everyone and everything. I'm saying, from what I hear, from what all the examples you gave, people are actually doing on an iPhone or a smartphone. And what I'm saying is just the market opportunity.
Sorry, yourself you said that you don't have the same comfort. You said the netbook is too close to the computer, and with the smartphone you don't have really the same comfort. So still you will have. It will be easier for you to read your newspaper or whatever you want with that kind of device.
But it means that you have to carry another device. And I think it's a very important thing. We must not neglect the fact that we are going, for example, MP3 market is decreasing because mobile phone with storage and MP3 capability is increasing. Actually, we can see because internally we are selling MP3 and mobile phone, and you see that music mobile phones are pretty much exploding when MP3 devices are increasing, and this is the market trend. There is a trend for not having to carry several devices on. And when you have a real disconnection on terms of usage, you cannot say, for example, I am hesitating between an iPhone and a 17-inch laptop. It's not. It's completely different. But I think, and this is why I'm talking about the market opportunity, thinking from my need and going to a device, we can find a new device. Now, if we have to say to people that in order to be able to access to that, we have to take an extra device from mobile phone or from even a netbook, and that we have to pay also a monthly fee to be able to have 3G access and everything, it's becoming, for me, a lot of aspects that we need to take into account before saying it will be a tremendous success.
I'm not talking about having this new device plus a netbook. I'm talking about this device, a phone, and a much big.
You will definitely going to see these devices in the next 3 months without giving you any name, because otherwise they're going to shut off my head. I can definitely tell you we will see smart books in the next 3 to 6 months that are offering you these capabilities, especially combined with location-based services. A lot of Taiwanese manufacturers are working on this right now, and they will bring it to the market very, very soon. But we'll also see it on the x86 platform, I'm pretty sure about this, already during CES. You will see devices, as I said, with GPS, with 3G connectivity, and with software environment around this that are trying to bring these two worlds of smartphones, netbooks, and laptop together. I'm sorry, two more questions. First, one over here.
Maybe
Sorry.
just one question.
Yeah.
You did not give the share between what is bought, the netbook share, bought directly by people and the ones that are sold through operators. What is the share?
Oh,
Very roughly in France, we are thinking that actually carriers are only selling around 10%.
10%?
one last question over here.
Thank you. Will we see the wedding of the iPhone and the NC10?
The wedding.
A wedding. You know, that's a kind of interesting question, because about 18 months ago, someone made up a little mock-up where you could place an iPhone underneath the keyboard as a huge trackpad, and it looked like, hey, this is a kind of a carrier for the Apple iPhone. Actually, I would like this idea still, but I'm doubting that Apple will ever step into the netbook market at all, and they don't even want that. They need to protect their not that I'm saying that netbooks have no brand equity or credibility or reputation at all, but Apple, of course, has a different market, a different consumer, and they're very, very high pricey, and they would definitely cannibalize their other devices, and that's a strategy they can't afford, and that's why they will go for a tablet.
So this is a way of my question. This is to do make NC10, but with touchy capabilities, with public PC aspect. Is it on the way, on the roadmap?
It's tactilizing the
Yes.
panel.
Yes.
Is something that is integrated and that we will be able to propose very soon. Something like that. But I mean the notion of, because I have seen so many people really hesitating between a netbook and iPhone actually, in terms of the choice of devices, but I do not believe in too much compromise in the product. If the iPhone is very successful, it's also because it's compact like that, and that the interface is very easy to use. And if netbooks are very successful, it's because it has this 10-inch screen and it's easy to use keyboard. So I think really between netbook and what is existing in terms of mobile phones today, there is a gap. And it will be very difficult to find a compromise in between. This is my personal opinion.
But you can definitely be sure that touchscreen capability is the next big thing for the netbook market. Again, also next year, we will see most of the manufacturers will come out with touchscreen.
I mean, technically, touchscreen is not an issue today to propose. But when you are talking about touch, you need to have the software layer that is able to give you a full experience of the touch. Because if you are, for example, origami product I mentioned before, Q1, we had XP tablet version on it, and actually it was just pointing them out with the finger, but there was no real usage improvement from the mouse actually. So software development needs to come, and in Samsung we are ready to propose this technology. Now we have Windows 7, and also we have many other people that we see that are developing, and Sugar is one of them, for example, especially in the netbook market, because we believe that tactile interface and usage is pretty much more real interactive approach to the computer than having the mouse used, and we really believe in that. So I think the software providers will develop more and more applications to make it easier to use with tactile, and we will be ready to propose the hardware that goes with it early next year.
Well, thank you, Jean. Thank you, Jay. We're a little bit late.